Well, we are talking about the end times, Revelation in chapter 17. Singing a song like that, 10,000 Reasons, makes me wonder when I get to heaven and I sing in that heavenly choir what my voice will really sound like. I'm sick of singing flat and off key and all of those other things that go along with it, right? There will be a day when my voice will no longer be touched by sin anymore, and I will sing in a beautiful way. And all the people that grew up hearing me singing will be amazed that I am doing it because God can work miracles, and that's going to take a miracle to get my voice on the correct tune. As we come to Revelation in chapter 17, we have been seeing the apocalypse of the tribulation period. We've been watching it play out in Scripture. We have seen John on the island of Patmos, and of course, John has been out there, and he's in jail basically, and he's out there probably crushing rocks. He's 90 years old. He's working hard labor, and he gets to go out and be visited by an angel who whisks him away, whether in body or in spirit, he doesn't know. And he is brought before the throne room of God, and he gets to see tremendous things that are going to happen in the future. Some of them he's just amazed at. These angels that come out, these angels, as Jesus starts to open up the seals of the scroll, the angels that come forward and do different things he's amazed at. And then the second group of things happen with the breaking of the seventh seal. Another group of angels come out and blow their trumpets, if you will, and those are all judgments that happen. But at the same time, he sees people gathered around the throne. He sees people worshiping at the throne. He sees people underneath the throne, and they're pounding on the floors, if you will, begging for vengeance from God. He is seeing amazing vision after amazing vision. Some of the things are in awe and wonder that he sees. Some of the things he sees and isn't allowed to write down, I think that's in chapter 13 or so. He just says, you know what, God has said not to write it down because it's probably too amazing, going to blow our minds, too horrible, whatever's going on there. It's some bad stuff, and he doesn't even write it down. When they get to that point, we're all going to look down and go, oh, yeah, I see why God didn't allow them to write it down, why he kept it from us. But John got to see it all, and there's times when John sees a great big angel, right? He's standing there on the face of the earth, and he has a scroll in his hand, and John eats it. Remember, it was sweet to his tongue, but bitter in his belly. And he's doing all kinds of things while he's getting these visions from God that he's writing down. And it's really unveiling Jesus Christ as he's coming back to take back what is rightfully his, this earth. That's why he's allowed to open up the scrolls, because this belongs to him. The truth of these books are not to be avoided, as they are in many churches. And maybe you've never sat through the book of Revelation. I don't know. A lot of churches don't preach on it. That's not a normal Sunday morning service, is it? But it's there, and it says, blessed are those that read and understand it. And so we are receiving great blessing as we go through this. The life of the believer, by the way, as we study these verses, should be altered. We should read what's here, and it should change us as we go out and tell our friends and family and others around us about the things that are to come and the things that we need to be saved from. What a horrible thing that is coming in the future. And even if you don't make it into the tribulation period, we're going to learn about hell too as we go through this. What a horrible place. And that's where the world is going to spend eternity. So we're in this section of the unfolding judgment of Christ. Chapters 18 and 19, by the way, are the final climactic return. We're going to see those things happen in those chapters. He comes with his saints to destroy the ungodly, to rescue his own, to establish his kingdom, which will usher in the eternal new heavens that we're going to see at the end of the book of Revelation, the new earth. And all along the way, we're seeing this horrible judgment that is happening upon the people that are here on this earth. We have learned much about the end times, haven't we? We've seen holocausts of judgment. We've seen that the universe is going to fly apart basically into chaos. God's the one that holds everything in order right now. If it wasn't for God, we would be in this chaos. But God is keeping it right now. And he's going to remove his hand from some of that and allow some of the chaos to happen. The skies are going to fold up. So the stars out of the skies are going to fall. So at one point in time, people are going to look up into the sky and basically see none of the stars. They're going to look up in the sky and remember the sky is going to part. And out of that part, God is going to throw a scepter right through the middle of it that's going to land on this earth. There's crazy things that are going to happen. Earthquakes, pestilence, famine, destruction of all the seas, destruction of all the fresh water, marine life. We've seen hailstones that weigh over 100 pounds fly out of the sky. If you've ever been hit with a hailstone, it's not going to feel good. It'll probably kill you. I think I told of the hailstorm that we had in Marcellus when I was there. I went out and picked up some of the hail. They were bigger than the ice cubes that were in the ice cube trays in my freezer. And we had like 50 miles an hour wind. And the director, the superintendent of our schools, Howardsville Christian School, he saw the hail start and thought, oh no, we've got vans out in the parking lot. I need to go get the vans out of the parking lot. It's going to destroy the vans. And we had a big door that you could drive a van through right into the gym. So he went out the door to go get the vans. He stepped out with this side of his body. All the hail hit this side of his body, knocked him in the head, knocked him out. And when he came, when the next day, when he took a look at his body, he had 20 bruises on this side of his body where the hail hit him. And that's a hail, like a golf ball size. This is going to be 100-pound pieces of hail come flying out of the sky. And there's also going to be fire. There's going to be miraculous resurrections. The 2 witnesses are going to die. They're going to raise from the dead. There's going to be preachers all over the face of this earth. You're going to have 144,000 Jews preaching and teaching. You're going to have Gentiles that are going to become believers, and they're going to preach and teach too. You have angels flying through the sky telling the wonders of God. You would think that would convince you that there must be a God doing something here, right? Satan will do tremendous things. Demons will operate under the power of Satan. Some will belch up out of the pit of hell itself. Some are going to be released from their captivity somewhere near the Euphrates River. Remember, they're going to come right out of the Euphrates River. Future Israel will be about its redemption. Israel will be redeemed. We will have deadly persecution of the Jews. Satan will want to destroy them all. He's going to try to eradicate the world of the Jews, just like it has happened in the past. Men over the course of time have tried to get rid of the Jews, and he can't. You know why he can't? There's only one reason why, because God still has a promise to them. And that's when it's going to happen, is in the future during the tribulation period. If it wasn't for God, the Jews would be gone. Guarantee it. He's protecting them. And guess what? During the tribulation period, he protects them again, doesn't he? The rejection of Jesus will continue. Even though all these things are going on, and even though it's obvious that God is doing these things, that Jesus is doing these things, the people are still going to reject. Even though an angel is flying around in the sky preaching, people are still going to reject. One of the things we know is that there's going to be a worldwide religious system. People say, or people today will say, well, this world is turning away from religion. I beg to differ. This world is moving to religion. And they're continuing to move to religion. And during the tribulation period, you know what's going to happen? All those world religions are going to be brought right into one. And they're all going to worship the same, except for believers. They're the only ones that won't. Mainly Jews. Everybody else going to bow down to this one world religion. It's referred to as Babylon the Great. Now look at what it says. We're going to go over this real quick and hit 7 and 8. There came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come up, come unto me, come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Remember, the whore sitteth upon many waters. A whore, a prostitute, in the Bible, when God talks about prostitutes, he's talking about false religions. He's talking about people that have turned away from him, that are worshiping idols. They're prostituting themselves religiously. God desires their worship. They're worshiping something else. They're having a relationship with some other God. And that's not what the God of the universe wants or desires. She sits upon many waters. It talks about her influence all over the face of the earth at that time then. Well, people are drawn to water, aren't they? I mean, you find a lake anywhere around here and see how many homes are built around it. People are drawn to water. People are drawn to water across the whole world. We have great seaports all over the world. It's a great way to get product from one place to the other. Unless we have a supply chain issue and then they just sit out there in the ocean and do nothing. But that's another story, right? They're still trying to get there. So she's on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. The kings of the earth. This is in reference then to all of the countries, if you will, that are across the face of the earth. They're committing fornication, not adultery. An adulterous relationship to God would be a believer that is including idols and other things and changing his worship. A believer that is turning away from God. He's having an adulterous relationship. These kings are committing fornication. Why? Because they're not believers. They're just having, if you will, sex outside of marriage. That's fornication, right? They're not in the family of God. They're just taking on any religion that they want to. So these kings are committing fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. This lady, and the lady is the symbol of the world religions, all coming into one group and one religion. They're all being deceived by her. She's making everything look grand and glorious and wonderful, and she's bringing everybody underneath that power because it looks so great. They're drunk with the wine of it. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now remember, there was a dragon that we saw earlier on. The dragon was Satan. He's the one that dragged his tail across the sky and drew down a third of the demons with him. So this isn't the dragon. This is the beast, the false prophet, the Antichrist, which are really 2 different things. But that's what they're referencing, right? The Antichrist is the one that this lady is sitting upon. So what is the picture here? The Antichrist is holding up the world religions. She's sitting on top of it. He is promoting it. He is giving it strength. She is holding the reins. She's controlling it. And by the way, people want to know who is this woman that's riding the beast. There's been all kinds of different answers to it, and I've been convinced of different things over the years. The most common reference, though, is the Roman Catholic Church. But even nowadays, I'm starting to even think that it could be the Muslims. It could be all kinds of different things. Whatever it is, I don't know. This one world religion that comes into being, probably the Roman Catholics, she is in control of it. She is holding the reins. Then it says in verse number 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. She has a lot of money. She's wearing the robes of a king. She's the scarlet color is the color of blood, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand. She looks beautiful. She is dressed to the hilt. She has all kinds of gold and things that make her look pretty. So everything on the outside looks wonderful. But guess what? She is holding a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. She is offering that cup to all the people and saying just how wonderful it is and look at all the riches and all the things you can have. And then you take it and you drink it and it's just filthiness. That's what the world is doing. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, the Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So that is Babylon the Great. It takes on two references. It takes on the spiritual side, which is this this religion that rises up, that's controlling the beast. We'll talk about the physical side of it, the political side of it later. But right now we're talking about the spiritual side of it. Could it be that it's going to be in Babylon? Maybe. Verse 6, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So what is this woman doing? She is killing the saints. She is killing people that have anything to do with Jesus. She is getting the rest of the people to do that. She is drunk off of that. She is leading people down that. She is trying to destroy this world of the Jews, any believer that's around. She's drunk on it. And you've seen people drunk with power. That's what she is. Drunk with her power to kill. Drunk with her power to get people to do things. And remember, just before this happened, one of the vial judgments was the drying up of the river Euphrates in that area so that the people could cross over and get to where the Battle of Armageddon is going to happen. How do those people get convinced to go over? Well, it tells us it's demons, and in particular, it's probably this one world religious system that's telling the people to come. Get yourself over there. They're being deceived by Satan to get there because Satan thinks somehow, some way, he's going to go over there and somehow destroy the Jews or somehow destroy Jesus or somehow foul Jesus' things up if he can get all the armies together. He's crazy. He doesn't know what he's doing. But that's what's going to happen. They're drunk with their power. So verse number 7. My little clicker's back there, and I put my paper down and hit that button, and you thought you were going to start hearing an angel sing, didn't you? Verse number 7. And the angel said unto me, I hope you weren't sleeping when that happened, because it sure did wake you up. Wherefore didst thou marvel? The angel comes to him and says, why are you marveling about this? And the connotation isn't like he's standing there with his jaw on the ground going, how can that be? You know how many things John has seen so far? He's not like in awe of this thing. He's more curious about how this can be, what's going on, what does this mean, how can this possibly be, and he's trying to figure out how this fits into everything. And the angel's saying, well, how is it that you marvel about this? I guess you don't understand. Right? That's more of the connotation. Why are you worried? Don't worry about it, John. I'll tell you what this is all about. Why do you marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. I am here. I'll tell you about it. John knew that the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns is the Antichrist. So I think he's a little worried that, well, maybe the Antichrist is going to take over. This woman is pulling together the world systems, pulling together all this religion. How does this fit? Verse number 8. The beast that thou sawest. The beast is Therion. And it's the beast that this lady is riding on. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. All right. He was and is not. Well, what does that mean? He was and is not. Well, Satan has a definite beginning, right? Your ancestors, they had a definite beginning. My dad passed away this last year. You know what I can say about him? He was and he is not. Here's his time frame, right? 1940 whatever till 2021. Was, is not. That's Satan in this picture. This is the Antichrist, if you will, not Satan. The Antichrist in the picture of this. He was, he came to power. He did all these tremendous works. But then what happened? Supposedly he died, right? Supposedly he was killed. And remember, we told you what then happened. He had some kind of revival, right? I believe that whole world is going to be deceived about the Antichrist, that he is going to die and be risen from the dead. Just like Christ. He is the false Christ of the tribulation period. Remember, there's a false trinity in the whole tribulation period. There's Satan, who's like God. He's the dragon. You have this beast. That's the Antichrist. He's like Christ. And then you have the false prophet, who's like the Holy Spirit. And just like Christ died and rose from the dead, this Antichrist is going to appear to die and raise from the dead. So at the end of the verse, verse number 8, it says that they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is. That's a depiction of him being and dying and coming to life. He doesn't really die and come to life, but that's what the people are going to believe. That's what they're going to see. Magic trick of some kind. So it says, the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? Oh, verse number 8. The beast said, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The abyss is the abode of demons. It's the underworld where Satan and these demons really had been chained. Many demons have been chained there for a long time, right? And God sets them free to run all over the face of this earth at that time. And there's all kinds of different kinds. There's some that were chained at one time, and then there was another group back in Genesis that were chained because they were having relationships with ladies and producing some kind of weird offspring. They're just released. So out of that pit, out of that abode, if you will, is where this demon, this Antichrist, comes from. And then it says, and go into perdition. He thinks he's taking over the world. He thinks he is going to rule and reign for a millennium. I have no doubts about it. He thinks he is going to destroy this world of the Jews and anything else that comes up against him. But you know where he's really going? He is going to perdition. That word perdition means destruction. He's going to eternal damnation. The lake of fire burns forever with fire and brimstone. Now, let me tell you what. We've talked a little bit about hell. We're going to talk some more about hell in the future coming up here. But the depiction of hell should scare anybody and everybody into Christianity. I don't know why it doesn't, but it should. It's a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. It also is described as a place where the worm eats the body, but it never gets full. It's almost as if, when you die, the worms eat at your body, eat at your flesh, and then your flesh is just completely gone. And, when they find you, 1,000 years from now, they just find your bones, right? In hell, it's not described that way. It's as if the worms start to eat your body, and your body just continually gets eaten for eternity. I mean, you hear of people that want to die, and so they might take their life here on this earth. When you're in hell, you're going to wish that for yourself. But you won't be able to. You won't be able to end it all. That's going to go on for eternity. That should scare anybody into becoming a believer, into becoming a Christian. You know what? It's okay if you want to become a Christian so that you don't have to spend eternity in hell. I mean, after you become a believer, then you recognize, well, I really want to be a believer so I can spend eternity with heaven and with God and eternal hope and eternal utopia and happiness and all the things that God offers. But hell is a horrible place. And that's where this Antichrist, if you will, he dies, if you will. He seems to go into the pit, and then he seems to come out of that pit. And he thinks he's going to rule and reign. But the reality is he's going to perdition. And he's going to spend eternity there. And as a matter of fact, he is so consumed with himself. If you take a real quick look, go down to verse 16. We'll study it later on. But look at what it says. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Who's the whore in this picture? It's the world religion. He's the third part of the Trinity, if you will. He's the false prophet. Guess what he's going to do to the false prophet because he's so consumed with himself? He's going to eat her flesh and burn her with fire. He's going to get rid of her. He's going to destroy the relationship that they have. Because that's what people who are consumed with power do, don't they? They never stop until they have it all for themselves. That's why it's dangerous to get involved with any man that thinks they're going to take over the whole world, because eventually they're going to take over you at the same time. Or they're going to die before that, and then you got to pay the price for the things they did on this earth, won't you? And what does it say to finish this up? And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Who are they that dwell on the earth? It's the unbelievers. How do I know that? Because look what it says. Whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the earth. The believers are not going to look at him and wonder. They're not going to be enthralled by him. They're not going to be won over by him. The unbelievers, however, even though all of these things have happened on the earth, I mean, we went over a bunch of the stuff that has gone on, and we just scratched the surface of what went on, right? They're going to come to this point, and they're still going to look at the Antichrist in wonder and be completely deceived by him. And at this point in time, the false beast too, right? I mean, the false prophet. They're still going to be in wonder about him. He looks pretty. He seems to offer all kinds of amazing things. He's going to fulfill the lusts of your flesh. And you're going to look at him in awe and wonder, and they're all going to bow down and worship him. Not the one that has his name written in the Lamb's Book of Life. You know what the Lamb's Book of Life is? When you come to know the Lord as your personal Savior, your name is found there. And even in the end times, when we're going to look at the great white throne judgment, people's names are going to be compared to the Lamb's Book of Life, and their name won't be found there, and they're going to be cast into the lake of fire for eternity. You want your name written in that book. When they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is, people are going to be amazed at him. They shouldn't be. There's no reason to be. They will be deceived, and they're going to follow him. Let's have a word of prayer. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this message that you gave to us tonight. Lord, I pray that as we continue through Revelation 17 and we see the destruction of this one world religion, we're amazed to see how it was built up. We're amazed to see that all these people are going to be deceived this way. And I know we can read it and look at it and say, how is it going to be so? But I think if you were alive during that time and you're not a believer, I think you will just simply be deceived. You're going to allow that great deception to go on. You're going to allow Satan and his demons to do that. And that's just another form of judgment upon that group of people. Father, I pray that as we think about eternity, as we think about hell, as we think about the things that are going to go on here, I pray that that will just encourage us to live a life that's pleasing to you and that we can tell others of the hope that is in us. Father, now we ask these things in your name. Amen. We do have a closing song.